We're back again. All right, our bird is formed. We have a few things to do. We need to make a tail. The finch has a tail that comes down a little bit. So we have to add on a piece. We have just a nubbin started. So I've taken a fresh piece of clay and made it into kind of a rectangular prism by patting it out. Okay. It's probably too big at this point. So I'm going to take a look at bird and at my drawing and look at how this could fit. Well, it's way too thick. I'm going to have to flatten it out a little bit. Okay, but it's, like I said, it's always better to start with a piece that's a bit too big than start with something that's too small and have something itty bitty and have it crack. All right, so I'll flatten this out a bit. You always want to flip it. If you don't flip things over when you're patting them, they get stuck to the table. And then they're not even. So trying to make a nice even form is the goal. Okay, how is this going to fit? Well, it's a little bit big right now. So I'm going to refer to my pictures. I'm going to trim it down a bit. What do I have for trimming tools? Well, I have my wooden tool. I have this plastic tool. Has more of a sharp edge. I have a paper clip too. That'd work fine. I have to look at the size of my bird's rear end. Trim off a little bit. So it's going to fit. Okay. Another thing I noticed when I was looking at the finch pictures is that the tails actually come to kind of a point. So I'm going to want to trim off both sides. I'm almost making like a long, stretched out, kind of a football shape. I don't know. Okay, if this is too thick and we put a great big slab on, it won't work very well. Just for balance sake and for how large this is, it's a little bit long like that, and I might have to trim it down a bit. But at the same time, we talked about the weight of the head is really heavy. So depending on where I put the hole and how this is going to stand on its stand, having the tail slightly too large is better than having it too small at this point. Okay, we need to attach it. I suppose I should make this look a little bit more like a tail before I do that. At this point, I'm just trying to get pieces put on, and I don't want things dried out. So still, my bird is, the clay is fresh, and the tail is fresh. If things are dried out, if your bird is starting to get dried out, you want to make your tail out of fresh clay, let it dry a little bit, and then put it on. Don't put it on super wet because it won't stay together. And I can either choose to add some feathers, some basic feather forms now, and then I can go back in later, add more dimension. How do we attach two things? Well, that's pretty easy, right? We know how to do that. Slip, score, and smear. And since I made this piece that comes off a little bit, I have space for that. You need to have two pieces that can be attached. If you have just little tiny bits, this is not going to attach, right? You got to have some flat surface area. So we'll slip it up. I'm never afraid to use plenty of slip because I always wipe off the extra. Use plenty of slip on this side. And the order that you slip, score, and smear, not overly important. The big thing is that you go in the same direction. So I'm going to go up and down the tail. And since it's going to be attached like this, we're going to go up and down on the rear end of this bird. You're getting a tail implant. Alright, let's put that on. Push it on there. Wiggle it together. And then the underneath side, the bottom, I'm going to kind of, well, got to be careful to support this. But I'm going to smear the clay. And my clay for my bird is starting to get dry. So be careful when I do this. I might want to add a little extra piece here. Not a big piece, just a small piece to reinforce it. Use the back of my fingernail. Give it stitches. I'll smear that out later. Just getting that tail attached.